played a couple really good album release party, but the cool thing about that is like, it's not my moment. I'm very fortunate that they're calling upon me to bring in their moment.
And right? The thing is too, like, you don't really like, you haven't really done a lot of interviews and you don't really go out there and say, I'm Zack Bia, I do this and that, da-da-da. It's like, you just recently now started doing interviews. So other people in your position, they probably would have been like, yeah, da-da-da, I'm that him, da-da-da, you know what I mean?
I think a lot of the reason that I even get these opportunities is because people know they can trust me. Yeah. So it's funny because like the people that I want the respect from, which is like artists in the creative community, those are the people who give me the most flowers and the most respect. And those people know what I'm up to. And then it's the people that are kind of like removed from it, seeing it, are like, why this guy? Oh, it must be his dad. It must be this. It must be that. And they come out with excuses why. And I'm trying to like sprinkle in little things here and there and be like, yo guys, like whoever you guys think I am, like I was the most normal, not connected, whatever. And it's just like I'm going on this tour with Post now.
Yeah.
I posted that thing we were talking about earlier. Like I posted this me DMing Post 7 years ago. I didn't know Post. I was in the general admission crowd at Coachella. I saved
right in the front.
Ticket, right in the front, bro. You know how you have to get to the front of Coachella? You have to watch every show, and slowly as people leave, you work your way up, and then there's the next performer, and then you work your way up. I was in there all day trying to get to the front. I'm the biggest Drake fan, which is funny because years later, that's like my big brother.
Yeah.
But to go, for example, like that's a full circle. Like I was really in the crowd, working my way up, trying to get to the front to catch the Drake show, and Post Malone walked by. Because he was going backstage or some shit. This is right when he dropped White Iverson. And then 7 years later, almost a full decade later, now I'm on tour with him. So this isn't some overnight shit. This isn't some like handed to me shit.
It isn't, and you know, the real ones know and seen how you've grown. And I think it's super cool, and congratulations for you to even be doing that. That's one of the biggest tours.
I feel weird even talking about this shit because I'm like, does it sound like I'm just like getting my resume or some shit?
No. What is a resume real enough for 2 millennials?
Nah, I'm just very lucky, and then it's kind of like you just try to do all this shit, and then you look back on it, and you're like, wow, like we've done a lot of fun shit.
Yo, 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 it's your boy Hakeem, and you are watching Our Generation Music. Man, today I got a rare, the man, the myth, the legend, with us, Zack Bia. What's up, my boy?
My brother.
How are you, man?
I'm here, man. I'm happy to be here. We had a crazy couple days.
New York Fashion Week has been a vibe for sure. You've been curating it, man.
It's more of like a party week than anything, I feel like.
Definitely, for sure. Man, very much thankful for you to, come do this. I know you don't really be doing too many of these.
No, I'm happy to do it.
Appreciate it.
I'm happy to do it.
Man, you're back home in New York. This is where you grew up and everything.
Yep.
What was it like, moving, to Los Angeles after New York?
I always say like being born in New York was like probably one of the most important things, just like foundation wise, and I'm happy that I experienced it before LA. To me, LA is like, as amazing as it is, feels like one big suburb.
Yeah.
And then New York was like, I got exposed to like city life and all kinds of different shit, like skating, listening to music, whatever, and then moved to LA and already had like a different kind of perspective
on life. I saw, and you posted that picture too of you with the skateboard.
Crazy, right?
And then a couple days ago, you had another picture with you and skating.
I know.
New York is so rich in culture, man. Like you're gonna it's like this melting pot of everything that's dope, whether it's from skating, music, fashion,
There's
art.
nothing like it. I mean, every street corner is like 100 years of like everything compounded into it, right? Pizza shop open till 5 a.m., luxury store, bodega, this, that, kids are skating, businessman's on the phone, this, that. And like you walk around like this guy's crying, this guy's bleeding, this guy's proposing to his wife, this guy, and you're like,
selling
it's just
fake
like,
fucking luxury.
Selling fake shit, and there's it's like, it's everything happening all at once.
It's a beautiful melting pot.
Yeah, it's epic.
I really want to tap into like early life, Zack, just like what you were listening to, because you are a music head. Like,
definitely.
I know you shouted out Jay Dilla and Pharrell before, in other
two of the best ever
and everything.
Yeah, I would say a lot of, really early on, like when I was a kid, I was really like, my mom like would kind of like throw movies and music at me.
Okay.
And be like, this week here's NWA. And then this week here's Red Hot Chili Peppers. And whatever, and kind of like wide spectrum. Like she has really good music taste. And I think when your parents show you kind of like a broad range, then it encourages you to like go explore all this stuff. So when I was first really like the first CD I ever bought was 50 Cent The Massacre.
Some shit right there.
And I was in France actually visiting family, and I had to drive, like, we're in like this small town in France, and like the equivalent of like French Walmart was like an hour away, and I was like begging, it's like someone drive me there, and I bought The Massacre, and like that was really important to me. First album I've ever bought on iTunes was Kanye Graduation.
And we're on the 10-year anniversary like a couple of days ago.
Yeah, no, 15-year anniversary.
15-year anniversary.
Yeah, I was about to say I was like
Damn.
younger than that. And no, I mean that was all really, really important to me. And a lot of music I learned, especially when we're talking about early New York days, was like through skate videos, a lot of early like Dipset shit.
And that is like the most important key factor I feel like for this generation with taste is that we all like loved skateboarding.
Totally.
Like, we loved skate videos and the music we got to hear. Like it took us from like even Tony Hawk soundtracks. Like it's taken us from like a fucking hard ass rap song to like some punk shit to like some hardcore shit, and you're like, it's all hard.
It's all. They're all different subgenres, but it's all like one kind of energy, right? Like skate culture is punk culture, has ties to other culture, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, that was definitely like my New York, I don't even talk about this much, like my New York childhood really like aged like since I could walk till I was like 8, 9, and then moved back to Manhattan from Brooklyn. That whole era was like, I was like a skater. Like,
you remember the Brooklyn Banks and shit like that?
Bro, I remember when the LES skate park first opened. That was later. I used to go skate like Tompkins Square Park.
Oh, okay.
A lot of like shit like that. I wasn't like always like the nastiest, but like I loved it. Like I was doing like.
I mean, that's the thing about skateboarding. It's like there's so many different. You don't have to be like the best, but you can enjoy skateboarding. The culture accepts you. And
I was like a good skater for a little kid for sure.
Yeah.
You know, like I was like kick flipping like 3 stairs.
Okay, yeah.
But I wasn't like going, you know.
Insane fucking handrails and shit.
No.
Man, Ryan Sheckler was the fucking GOAT around that time.
Bro, Ryan Sheckler did this. He had this part back then when he used to skate for Almost.
Oh, when
Almost
he was a
skateboard.
kid?
He was a kid, and he was like on tour with all these guys, and he's like literally a little kid. I think it's like Almost Part 3.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And like he opens it up with like this like, the Cure's playing in the background, like just music, like that's how I remember the video.
Yeah.
And he's like, he starts it off with like literally like a 2-minute manual, like in Barcelona.
Yes,
You know
and he
what I'm
going all the way down.
All the way
Yes,
down, over the
yes.
stairs, over there. Like I
Yeah.
remember that part like distinctly.
My favorite skate park, obviously, man, is the ice cream skate team. Legendary.
Yep.
Like Jacob Walder was my favorite skater. Him, obviously, Andrew Reynolds. This nigga's frontside flips
super
was
gnarly.
fucking insane. Made everyone. I honestly credit that Atlanta hat.
To Andrew Reynolds, yeah.
Like he really made that. Like yes, hip hop, rap, but Andrew Reynolds
In
definitely.
the skate world for sure.
Definitely.
The classic Baker board.
Yes. Like, I'm about to get a new crib, so I'm definitely about to put that fucking board up on the wall. One of your first hustles, too, was putting music on people's iPods. And, you know, shout out your mom and everything for what she did.
My very first hustle. That's
How much were you charging?
It's funny because, like, we were living in Brooklyn, and my mom was, like, in the creative community, like, working in fashion as a creative casting director, model agent, whatever. And this is like, obviously everyone knows what Soho House is now, like the membership club, but it was just getting started back then.
Oh.
And they used to have like this like floor that like kind of like all families would go hang out at. And on like Sundays, it was like bring your kids to Soho there, or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
Type shit. And there was always birthday parties, and all the parents would be like, we need music, we need this. And they'd be like, she'd be like, my son like knows music, whatever. So they'd be like, I'm a little kid.
Yeah.
And like, these are probably like pretty well-off people, and they would give me like a couple $100 to like do a playlist for them or burn a CD or an iPad, whatever. And I remember I saved up, and this is how I bought the first iPhone. The iPhone 1. That's how I bought iPhone 1. That's how I bought a GameCube. It was like my real hustle.
Was that your first system? My first system was a GameCube too.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm not the biggest gamer. I respect it. I'm just like, I was always like, I wasn't playing games that much. I mean, I love 2K, I love FIFA, GTA, like skate games, but.
So overall, like childhood-wise, or just music? Like that was
music. Yeah, I mean, I went to to give you a little background. Like I went to like a French. I went to public school in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Got a little bit older. Went to like this French private school. My parents are French. Went to like this French private school in the Upper East Side, even though I was living in Brooklyn. So we were like trekking.
Yeah.
And then, which is funny because I was growing up with like this kind of like very artistic, like household, and then I'm going to like a very kind of like preppy school. And then when we moved to LA when I was like 13, I felt like basically my whole life I was kind of like a French kid living in America. Like I went to a school with all European kids. We had a uniform. We all spoke French, and classes were taught in French.
Yeah.
So like it's almost like I was living this French education, French life, and then when I moved to LA, it was like discovering how to be like an American kid.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
Like, bro, I didn't even go to like, because in LA you can be a lot more independent at a young age.
Yeah.
So like when I was like 13, middle school, kids in LA are biking to school, skating to school, whatever, walking to class, and like in New York's not really like that. At least not when you're that young.
Yeah.
So it was like LA was like me discovering like, shit, this is like what it's like to like go to the mall with your homies. This is what it's like to go do. You know what I'm
talk
saying?
to girls at the mall.
Just type shit. It was just different.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's so like you had basically a culture shock moving to LA right away.
It's funny. Imagine growing up in America and then having like a culture shock in your own country.
That usually happens to people that move from another country.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Because I actually had one too, like moving from Jamaica straight to America and shit.
How old were you?
I was 9.
Yeah, so enough to have like your foundation.
Completely different.
Crazy.
So, okay. You shouted out, Neptunes and J Dilla as some of your favorite, people in music. I really want to know your favorite Neptunes beat.
Oh, I mean, by the way, there was a whole period of time. Like obviously, like Chad Hugo's genius. All like the Pharrell close
melody.
collaborators
Oh
are
my
super
God,
genius. Like
bro.
I was just with Brent the other day in the studio, and he was playing me some shit that him and Chad Hugo were making. It was like insane. But the thing is, like, there was just a whole era where like Pharrell was really dominating pop radio with rap hits.
Yeah.
A lot of the Jay-Z songs. I mean, even when he took
Britney Spears.
By the way, he took Timberlake, and like when Timberlake went solo,
Yep.
the Pharrell link up is like what really solidified it all because they made that album.
Future Sexy Love Sound.
No, before that, Justified.
Justified too, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know, it's hard to narrow it down. It's definitely hard to narrow it down.
I picked the sleeper one. I think LL Cool J's Love You Better.
I even like the remixes. Like I like the Sade Neptunes remixes. I like
That,
you know what I mean?
bruh,
Crazy flips.
that is some shit right
Yeah,
there.
it's definitely some shit. I play it all the time.
I love that. That's one of my favorite remixes that somebody like added to. And right now, Zack Bia is in his remix bag.
Oh,
man.
yeah.
My boy is going crazy right now. What, you got like 4 or 5 out already?
A couple. We just put them out and letting them fly.
Letting them fly.
Yeah.
How are you going about choosing, what you want to remix?
Bro, any remix we put out is something we decide to do that day, finish that day, and put it out. It's like not super calculated.
Okay.
It's like we're in there, we're working on other shit, and I'm like, we should do drum and bass sticky, and we're just like, fuck it. And I'm in there. I've been working on a lot of different shit in the studio lately, outside of just even our artist music. Like I'm working on putting this tape together.
You about to get your big dog shit out? I think about to put the compilation project out?
Yeah, I think like I've kind of been in this position where like I've done a lot of the things I wanted to do DJing, and it was always like a dream of mine to produce a tape, and also like bring in producers that I really like that might make one genre and kind of push them in the other direction. Be like, yo, you make these kind of beats. I love your sounds. What if we took them to this genre or whatever? And kind of like the whole idea I've had is like, because it's a DJ record, and like you've seen me play a bunch, like I play kind of like all across the spectrum.
Very, very wide range of
It's
music.
like, my whole thing is like, can we take some of our favorite people, it has to be people that I'm friends with that I really like, genuinely like already live and breathe studio with them.
Yeah.
Can I take them out of their element and have them try something new for the context of my tape? So like I went in with Don the other day and we did like a Jersey club record. We did like a dance record, like a real like 130 BPM like dance record. And he was in there like, he's so talented and like has such good melody ideas that like you'll throw anything at him. Basically we booked out a day and he's like, this is your day, like whatever you want to experiment with, let's do it. And I was like, I have this vision for you on this like bass line, like like Fade Kanye.
Yes.
Don't. And I was like, I have this idea for you on this kind of record. And he's like, bet, like let's pull some shit out. First beat I play him, he's like, load it up. Send it to the engineer. He's in the booth, and the way the booth was set up, he was staring right at us. And Don's like a really energetic person and someone who feeds off of energy. And he started just taking like melody takes on there, and we were just in there like going crazy, and he's in the booth going crazy back, and it was just like, we really caught a moment in there.
And you felt that, like, yo, we're creating something dope right now.
He was having fun with it. You have to have, the whole point of my tape is like, can we just make some shit that you've wanted to make or haven't tried yet, and then I can give it context because it's my DJ record. It's not like you made a left and you're like, I want to go drop this random song. So it's like, these people are my friends and they believe in what we're doing and they're like open-minded to go try. Like, I did like an 80s kind of like rock song with Yachty.
That's some shit.
Which isn't out of his pocket because he's doing all kinds of crazy shit.
Yeah, because you remember even the remix with Tame Impala.
Exactly.
That was super cool. I liked it.
I mean, I try to tell people, like, Yachty is one of the rarest type of people and artists who can, like, I want to give Yachty his flowers right now because, like, there's not many people that can go do a Cardi Future record, jump on a plane, go do a DaBaby Drake record, go to Detroit, make a whole tape, go hang out with Tame Impala, Mac DeMarco, all alternative rock guys, and then go do like a Cheerios commercial. And like, he dips in so many different pockets. Like, everyone loves him. He's like your favorite person's favorite person.
Yeah, and he's had one of those craziest feature runs. I remember when he first came out, it was insane. That Monte with him and Post Malone, still a favorite of mine. Even Broccoli, like, bro, like,
he had that Buzz In Party Next Door Murder Beats record that was crazy.
That was, and it got premiered on OVO Sound. It wasn't up on for a while. That shit was hard.
Yeah, that record was hard.
Man, so you really like on your executive producing bag right now?
Yeah, like I the way I see it is like I'm in there, like, I know how to produce music, but my favorite thing is like, so to backtrack, like, for years I threw and DJ'd parties, a lot of different things, right? Yeah. And the reason, and this is shit that we never even talked about, like, people are always like, why are you here, why are you there? And it's like, all those parties were our parties, were my parties. And everyone's like, look at all these people that are there, and like Zach's in the background. It's like, bro, that was my shit. Yeah. And I never told anyone because the whole point of it is like, us bringing everyone together is so special. And we were creating an environment where like everyone felt like, because there's no pictures or like, you know, like there's some pictures that come out, but those are like actual photos. Because there's no like phone, Instagram, whatever shit in the party, people that are usually having to act a type of way could be themselves.
I get it now.
And so it was like, I wasn't gonna go out and do an interview and be like, I threw this party with the blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? It was like more about creating that environment. And
people get to be themselves around you. I feel like you bring out, like, you know, they're true, like, yo, bro, relax, we having a good time, we vibing.
Yeah, and I want to create that environment, and I think we were lucky that during a time in which a lot of new artists were coming up and a lot of established artists were living in LA and whatever, I was throwing parties and DJing parties that were like, kind of had all these cross worlds of people. Like Shaq, before Obama blows up, is in the room with me and Drake while this person's walking in the back and whatever. And it's just kind of like, that's kind of like what my mixtape is. Yeah. Is like, can we create that environment that all these different people are collaborating and the sounds are creative and different? Yeah. And like, that's the whole point of the tape.
That's gonna be hard. Did you think of a name for it or anything yet?
Yeah, I have it.
What's the name?
I'll reveal it soon.
Okay, that's some shit.
I'll probably drop some shit before the end of the year.
Okay, man.
Maybe a song or two.
No, and like you even said yourself, like, I watched you DJ, and you DJ for such different range of people. Like right now, you're a part of this rollout. You're part of our artist's rollout. Like, you know, I seen you DJing with Brent at his party. You doing stuff the weekend. Like, what's it like?
Last night was me and Brent shit.
That was lit. That was fun as fuck.
It's crazy.
What's it like?
But like, Central was in the booth with me.
Yes. I thought Doja Cat pulled up or something like that.
I don't know who. A lot of people were there last night. I mean, I DJed Doja's birthday. Yeah. I've been really fortunate. I mean, that goes even back to the shit I was saying earlier, which is like, when you're a part of someone else's rollout and you're kind of helping like usher in that moment for them, it's not about yourself, which is why like oftentimes like, this is like one of the first times I'm talking about a lot of this shit. Yeah, I did, Brent and I, as he just put out his album, so we've been like doing shit like rolling out his album, like throwing parties and playing it for people and whatever. I did Jack Harlow's album release.
In Kentucky?
In Kentucky, which was so amazing because like, he's family to me and like I've known him since like 2017, 2018, Sundown era. We booked him for a show in LA. But like, as him and I get super close and him and I and Cole get super, obviously they have their own relationship, and me and Cole, that's like my best friend. All of us hanging out, everyone's friends becomes everyone's friend. So like Jack's hometown friends become friends with Cole's hometown friends, become best friends with Gilly and my hometown friends or whatever. And because we've all hung out in so many different places, now for me to go to Kentucky and really tap in with like his boys and be like, where did you guys grow up? Show me the local spot. Take me to the liquor store where you used to buy shit when you guys were kids.
First time y'all got drunk and high.
Take me to they're like, this is this comic book store. It still smells the same when I was a kid. They take me in there. They're like, take me to this spot. Like, really tapping in, seeing how they grew up gives me such a better perspective.
Yeah.
And like, I'm just so lucky we got to do that. Jack's album release. I did the Weeknd's album release. I did, like when the Weeknd did this album, you know, COVID and everyone kind of like loses touch, like, you know, everyone's busy, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He called me and we were just like, yeah, we haven't really been as close in the last year.
Yeah.
And that's like, you know, my brother, like, we spent a lot of time together and he called me like, I just worked on this album. I want you to come listen to it. So I'm thinking it's like an album listening thing. He's like, come to the studio, whatever, this time. So I'm thinking like, it's probably like a 30-person kind of thing before it drops. So I'm like, I'll show up a little late. I'm sure it's like drinks and stuff first. I show up and he's just in the studio by himself, glass of red wine, like going through songs and shit. And he's like, oh, you're here. Like, bro, I gotta play you this shit. We catch up on life. Plays me the tape, plays me the album. And he's just like talking about how he was stuck in the pandemic and then wanted to make like a classic dance album because he wishes he was partying. Plays me all the sounds.
Because he wished he was partying.
Yeah. So
he was like partying through the music.
It was like escapism.
Yeah.
And he was just like, yo, you gotta come DJ the party. And like, we gotta really do a dance party around the album. So I did that. We did another one in Vegas for his birthday. I did, what other album? I did Baby Keem's album release in New York.
I remember that was last year. It was like last Fashion Week.
Yeah, I did, I played a couple really good album release parties, but the cool thing about that is like, it's not my moment. I'm very fortunate that they're calling upon me to bring in their moment.
And the thing is too, like, you don't really like, you haven't really done a lot of interviews and you don't really go out there and say, I'm Zack Bia, I do this and that, da-da-da. It's like, you just recently now started doing interviews. So other people in your position, they probably would have been like, yeah, da-da-da, I'm that him, da-da-da, you know what I mean?
I think a lot of the reason that I even get these opportunities is because people know they could trust me. Yeah. So it's funny because like the people that I want the respect from, which is like artists in the creative community, those are the people who give me the most flowers and the most respect, and those people know what I'm up to. And then it's the people that are kind of like removed from it, seeing it, are like, why this guy? Oh, it must be his dad. It must be this. It must be that. And they come out with excuses why. And I'm trying to like sprinkle in little things here and there and be like, yo guys, like whoever you guys think I am, like I was the most normal, not connected, whatever. And it's just like I'm going on this tour with Post now. Yeah. I posted that thing we were talking about earlier. Like, I posted this me DMing Post 7 years ago. I didn't know Post. I was in the general admission crowd at Coachella. I saved
right in the front.
Ticket, right in the front, bro. You know how you have to get to the front of Coachella? You have to watch every show, and slowly as people leave, you work your way up, and then there's the next performer, and then you work your way up. I was in there all day trying to get to the front. Mm-hmm. I'm the biggest Drake fan, which is funny because years later, that's like my big brother. Yeah. But to go, for example, like, that's a full circle. Like, I was really in the crowd, working my way up, trying to get to the front to catch the Drake show. And Post Malone walked by because he was going backstage or some shit. This is right when he dropped White Iverson. Mm-hmm. And then 7 years later, almost a full decade later, now I'm on tour with him. So this isn't some overnight shit. This isn't some like handed to me shit.
It isn't, and you know, the real ones know and seen how you've grown. And I think it's super cool, and congratulations for you to even be doing that. That's one of the biggest tours.
I feel weird even talking about this shit because I'm like, does it sound like I'm just like giving my resume or some shit?
No. But is a resume real enough for 2 millennials?
Nah, I'm just very lucky, and then it's kind of like you just try to do all this shit, and then you look back on it, and you're like, wow, like we've done a lot of fun shit.
Yeah, and that tours, you've been on a tour before, right? Like,
I've never been on like a full because on this one I'm on the bus. Like we're really hitting the city, hitting the road. Yeah. I've gone and visited friends on tour and done like a stop or two with them or pull up on them and go to 2-3 cities. But this is different because this is really like pack your bags.
This is real tour life.
Yeah.
Jeez, man. And then like, this is one of the biggest tours of the year, obviously. Post Malone's like one of the biggest artists in the world.
He's the best. He's one of the best guys.
And when I watch you DJ, you know, you play so much different music, but I really want to know, because you're going from Brant, you're going from The Weeknd, you're going from Baby Keem, now to, you know, throwing this big dance party for Post Malone. Like, how do you curate a list for the night? Like, how do you go about doing that?
I think the biggest thing is kind of like, man, if you looked at on my notes, it's so funny because on my notes, I literally keep a running list of songs I hear out that I need to download. I mean, this has been going on for years. And it's just basically like,
wow, that's a long list.
if I'm at a party and I hear some fly shit, I'm like, oh my God, I got it, like whatever. So it's like, I'm always constantly like discovering music, old, new, whatever, or being reminded of music.
Yeah.
And every day when I get home, or a couple times a week at least, like I'm downloading music, reorganizing shit. So the way I DJ off like a USB. So I'll go on my computer, I'll format everything, and I make like almost like little playlists within the USB, and I'll be like, depending on what gig, if it's depending on the size of the show, whatever, I'll make kind of like a general playlist that I feel fits that has a couple hundred songs in it, and then I'll pick everything like in real time.
Okay.
You know, I don't like organize it like the order. I'm just like, oh, I'm playing this party tonight. Here's this song, here's this song, here's this song. And I kind of like throw it all in there, and then in the moment I pick the vibe.
Is there a song you feel like you're guilty of always starting with?
Not starting with, but I'll tell you I play MIA Paper Planes like every night.
Every night?
Yeah.
Has to. And that, New York, another crazy time period
MIA,
in New York.
Santee Gold. Yeah,
Trouble Andrew.
Crazy.
Benny Blanco.
Crazy, yeah.
One of my favorite times.
Indie sleaze era is what they call it.
What is it called?
Indie sleaze.
Okay, bet. That's when
It's like the technical term. It was like this era of like early 2000s to 2012, but it was like a lot of shit like MIA, Santee Gold, whatever.
Kid Cudi remix.
Kid Cudi. That's all like blog house music. You know, like
it was like the tail end of
bro,
it.
so much shit. We could get. I mean, bro.
Yo, I play this man music head, man. That's don't play with Zack, man.
It's one thing.
Yeah, it's we in the good Sinclair warehouse, you know what I mean, the headquarters.
We're
right
in New
now.
York. We're at the boys' office. You know, we're
in the boys' office. How do you? I want to know like the first time it came upon you, like, yo, I want to DJ. Like, what was that?
Bro, when I was a very little kid, I always was like trying to like find like, I wasn't like on GarageBand like making beats like before, you know what I'm saying? Just always trying to figure it out, and like, it's really hard to me at least, and I'm always someone who learned better from like observing and like maybe like a mentor. And so like, I was always trying to figure out how to DJ or like trying to DJ, and it didn't really connect for me till I was like 20. I was like DJing like frat parties because I was in college.
Yeah.
And like no one really knows how to DJ in college. And there was like a little like DJ controller, and I was just like putting songs from iTunes on a USB and like clicking random shit. And then it was kind of like, the more I was like, this is what I want to take seriously, that's when I would like go to the club every night and like watch my favorite DJs, or like hit them up like, yo, like, are you free today? Can you meet me? Can I come to your crib and like use your shit?
So who taught you how to DJ?
I would give a lot of credit to my boy Pedro.
Shout out to legend.
Underground legend, like big
So-
time. Talk about someone who did a lot of shit and never like talks about it.
Never talks about it. Like,
He does like music curation for like Fenty and Rihanna. He did like a lot of stuff for Virgil, did a lot of stuff for a lot of people, and he would always see me like DJing. Bro, I wasn't always DJing like crazy shit. I was DJing like random bars, and I would be DJing like a random bar, and I'd be like, all the homies pull up, and I'm just picking songs, and I'm thinking I'm really getting my shit off. And then Pedro's like, bro, you know cool music, but your DJing's trash. And this is when I'm like 20, you know, this is like 6 years ago, 5 years ago, whenever it was. He's like, your shit's trash. Like, you need to learn how to actually DJ. So he'd be like, come to the crib, I have this set up. Be like, this is how you mix records. This is how you organize your files. There's all the things. So he kicked me the game. And like a bunch of my friend Daniel, who lives in New York, was the same thing, like doesn't even have Instagram, like legendary club DJ. He would be like, just putting me on game. And I kind of saw all these guys that are just a couple years older than me that saw that I was trying to get my shit off.
Yeah.
And they were like, here, kick me the knowledge. And then I went to go put my own little like sauce on it.
yeah, nah, man.
Well, it's like you learn some shit and then you're like, let me go play tonight and like try and do that thing in real life.
Yeah, and you know that led you to perform DJing, literally performing. You know, still performing on some of the biggest stages, man.
Oh, man,
like
I've been
that
very-
Louis Vuitton one a couple years ago.
Louis Vuitton one was really cool.
Shout out Virgil, R.I.P. Virgil, and everything, man. What was that
greatest.
moment like for you? You know, to DJ Louis Vuitton.
You know, aside from being like someone I was, you know, mentored by and big brother for sure, I'm like am and was his biggest fan, right? amongst many biggest fans. But
Yeah.
like I'm definitely like a diehard Virgil fan. I'm lucky to have learned so much from him. But it was just like, I was same thing. Like I would go pull up wherever he was playing, and then like by the time we were friends, it was like we were pulling up together. But there's been some parties that like I saw him play that I played years later, like the same party, like this Art Basel Soho House party that he always played, I played. So it's just like, to me, crazy full circle moments. But that Louis Vuitton one was special because that was a full kind of like, it was like in Miami, and they shut down like a whole block and recreated this whole Louis Vuitton installation, and they called me in to do it, and it was like definitely an honor.
That was huge, man.
Yeah, that was a really fun one.
And you know, Virgil is a legend, man. That man is going crazy still. Like
output. I mean, he did so much that people don't even have. Like, he did 1,000 projects a year, 1,000,000 projects a year, whatever the number, unfathomable amount of output. Like shoes, clothes, music, everything. Like he was doing so much shit every day was coming out that like, if one of us does one of those things, it's a great year.
Right.
Like if we got one shoe off, everyone's like, yo, he went crazy.
He went crazy. This nigga dropping 10.
He's dropping 40.
They're bangers.
Like the amount of, it's like, what did Drake say in the Jack Harlow song? Like over delivering to the point it's belittling.
Yes.
It's like that. It's like sneaker, mixtape, collab with this, does a chair, does a car, does this, and he's like, bro, this is all in the last month.
Fuck, man.
Yeah, he had and by the way, I learned a lot from him, which was, he always kind of was of the mind that like more is more. Like if you have an idea, take it and put it into physical life. Like people are kind of really precious, and I understand being a perfectionist, and I understand like, you know, why people hold back on a lot of stuff. But for him, it's like, if you have this idea of a t-shirt you want to make, go print the t-shirt, because now it exists. Now you've already accomplished that thought. So he was always like, do more. If you have an idea, make it happen.
Like Virgil, you know, you do a lot of different things. You know, you got a lot of different things going on, whether from DJ, being an exec, you know, being even a big brother. Like, you know, shout out Lil Elon, man. Like,
legendary.
You know, little legend right there. I just seen him DJing and shit now.
He does it all.
How do you juggle all these different things?
To me, all these things are the same thing, even though they might have different like actual jurisdictions. Like, to me, it's all I know is like kind of like all these things feed into each other. Running a label has to do with DJing, has to do with finding music, has to do with whatever. But I mean, you know, I'm first and foremost like a record label founder and DJ. Everything else is like secondary. Even like I haven't been as involved in like going to fashion shows and things like that as I used to be. But even that, like, to me is just a piece of like supporting our friends and a way for us to move artists around in a way that other people can't.
Yeah.
It's like, here's our secret sauce. Like I always tell people, I'm like, if we do like a field trip deal, you're gonna get privileges and looks and access to things that other people don't have. And that's kind of like our whole thing, is like we can create those moments. Yeah,
definitely. You got a bunch of artists, some of my favorite guys, man. Yeat, Kobe, Slump, all the young bulls. Yeat's going super crazy now, man.
He's so special, yeah, he's insane.
Very special artist, super talented. What's it like seeing the success of Yeat right now?
He called it before anyone. I was one of the earliest believers in it. But the reason I was a believer was like, I thought the music was so amazing and like so different. And anyone who you can't compare certain things. Like, sure, can you hear elements of things in anyone's music? Yeah. He's the new version of it, right? Of a lot of different things that I love. Like, he sounds more just like him. He created like a whole new sound. And when I first heard the music, it sounded so, it just made sense to me. And I called him into the office and he pulled up, him, Nextel. They pulled up to the office and it was like 100 degrees outside, and he had the Montclair puffer on, Louis side bag, Louis Vuitton like kind of like scarf around his head. He was wearing the turbies. And he told me like he had 5,000 followers on Instagram, and he played me all this he played me a lot of what ended up being like Up to Me and all that really early. And he was kind of like, this was like May of 2021. So he's like, this is the music I'm gonna drop end of the summer. This is the music I'm gonna drop after that. This is the music that's gonna come top of 2022. He laid out the whole plan for me. And he's like, like, Yeat already has it all. You don't have to tell him anything. He's a complete genius. Like, we don't have to touch any of that stuff. I'm more like, I help organize everything on the back end, musically, creatively, like, it's all him, you know. And he's like, he comes to me with the new sounds, and he'll send me stuff and be like, I'm thinking about taking things in this direction, and he just blows my mind. He told me, he's like, I have 5,000 followers now. I'm gonna hit 10K in like a month, but once I hit 10K, I'm gonna hit 20K the week after, and it's gonna start building just like really, really, like he already called it. And like he already knows, yeah, he sees the future. Like,
all we do is go number one.
That song debuted number one.
And it debuted number one.
Yeah.
This man, he's different, man.
Yeah.
The dope thing about Field Trip, like you said, you know, you're gonna get a lot of access. You're gonna really speed that process up. You know, you're someone that's gonna add a lot of fuel to the fire, you know, with the artists. And
yeah, it's more just like like you and me, we're living and breathing it, right? We're not some like, no offense to anyone, we're not some like exec in an office that's like, what are kids doing? Like, we're living and breathing it. So I'm more just like, we can help do the things that an artist needs to do in real time, right?
Yes. Like, we actually like this music.
We actually like the music. I actually know all the other artists.
Yes.
I know, you know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I feel like there's a crazy disconnect with, like, you know, music. Well, you're not even gonna get into these music industry people with that stuff. But the dope thing I think see with Field Trip is just now these collaborations. The Asics shoes are hard. Sick as hell. 9.5 didn't show up at my house. Back to the interview.
I got them for you. I actually, they, by the way, they actually, like, there was I don't know, 30 pairs left that we didn't allocate. We kept them, and they shipped them all to the office. So I literally have them in LA waiting.
Bro,
I have a bunch of shit. Yeah.
Y'all went crazy.
Those were fun.
What was the inspiration behind it? I love the colors on that shoe.
I thought the first time when Asics was like, we gotta do a collab, I was like, instead of making it like a Zack thing, let's make it a Field Trip thing, because I always want to go back to what we're doing with the artist and the music. And it wasn't even, I was like, let's not sell them, because Field Trip sells music.
Yes.
We're not like in the business of trying to sell clothes. So I was like, let's do it, let's make a moment out of it. And at first I was like, we gotta go super crazy. And I'm like mocking up like purple, red, pink, orange, I'm like fucking rainbow color shoe. And I'm like, just because you're doing a collab doesn't mean you have to go over the top. Collaboration, like, what does it really mean? It means two people coming together. And we like decided to go really the opposite route, which was like super simple with them. And kept them clean, like all about the little details, like this little little red hits that matches the bottom, whatever. And we were just, yeah, I have my friend Max, who did a lot of design for Virgil, did a lot of the RSVP stuff, did cacti logo for Travis, a lot of insane shit. And we just sat and kind of like built the shoe out together.
But even more too, the way you guys debuted them, that lookbook, that underwater shot, that was beautiful.
It was real Field Trip shit.
That was some
like
shit
take the shoes and take them on the road. We sent our boy to Bermuda, and he actually shot them underwater.
Oh, okay, bet.
Yeah.
That's hard. How did the name for Field Trip come about? Why'd you guys go with that? What's the meaning behind it?
A lot of people, like, the way I started the label was, again, when I was 18, 19, 20, throwing parties, DJing. I was also, one of my first hustles was like when I was throwing parties at the club. I was like one of the first kids that got budgets from clubs to book talent.
Oh, okay.
So like 21 Savage, when him and Metro dropped, I did the LA show. We did the first like post club show. We did a lot of like those things, and I had a lot of people that would come to me and be like, you should start a management company. You should partner with a major label and start your own venture or whatever. And kind of like one of my OGs sat me and some friends down and was like, you should start your own label. You're always in the studio. I was always like introducing artists to other artists and kind of like being that bridge person behind the scenes. Which goes back to like, how am I gonna be the guy that's like, I did that? Like, that's not what I'm there for. I'm there to like kind of help push those moments to happen. And he was like, yo, you gotta start your own label. I'll give you the money for it. And he bankrolled me the initial money. And I signed Mallory and Kobe. And when I signed Kobe, there wasn't like a scene. I just thought he was like a really good rapper.
Yeah.
I just like the way he rapped. I heard, what are you doing? And I was like, this kid is like super fly.
And then we ended up doing the first interview like, I don't know, a couple months later or something?
Yeah, I remember that at my office.
Yeah, at his office, yeah.
I mean, Kobe's like, bro, Kobe was one of the first people that really helped push that whole scene forward.
Yeah.
And he was kind of even one of the first people who told me like, yo, there's a whole scene. And like started painting the picture. And like, I think we were some of the earliest people to like, everyone who's a fan of it.
It was like
they're the ones who built it.
Yeah.
Because like, it doesn't look quite the same as the 2016 scene.
I feel like because they're just younger. So
it's younger, it's Twitch. And these kids are like, we're making beats on Discord. And I'm like, bro, what?
We connected on Discord.
They're like, this guy's my best friend. Like, have you guys ever met? They're like, no. But like, we're best friends. I'm like, I remember Baby Santana and Slump came to dinner with me, and it was the first time they ever met in person. But they're already best friends, and they already had Antisocial 1 and 2 out.
Bangers.
And then they're like, yo, you're so much taller than I thought. You're so much shorter than I thought. You're so much shit. I'm like, bro, like this is so. It was like, you know,
and
it was great.
It just makes us genuinely.
It was wholesome, bro.
Yeah, to see that. I remember just even Chicago, right? You DJ Lyrical Lemonade Fest and everything. They had the after show there. Tana and Slumps, they performed. Antisocial.
Bro, these are kids, bro, from random different cities across the country that are coming together and making like viral songs. And like, what people need to understand is that music, ever since the internet has existed, has always been connected to the internet. Internet changed everything. iTunes changed everything. Streaming changed everything. But like Drake, Kid Cudi, those songs initially broke on MySpace.
Yes.
Day and Night got popping on MySpace, which is the equivalent of shit popping on TikTok now. You get what I'm saying?
Yes, 100%.
So it's like Tumblr, like the Weeknd, Frank Ocean, that was Tumblr. Bryson Tiller, that was Snapchat. Rocky, all that shit, that was YouTube, that was Instagram, it was Tumblr, it was all that shit. So it's like, TikTok is a tool for kids to have more access to virality than ever before, which I think is like very democratic in a way, it gives everyone a shot. And like, I always say like, they're like, this is a TikTok song. I'm like, bro, what if this kid never got this song off? I'm like, this gave an opportunity to someone that might not have had the access, because back in the day, you had to go get a label budget and go do late night TV shows and go perform and go do radio and go do these things. Now it's like, you can make a song in your room, put it on TikTok, and it can blow up.
And it can literally change your life.
It's up to the artist to keep making shit that sticks.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying like, yeah, like I don't knock it. You know, I think it's always, there's gonna be a next thing.
I always tell people right now, like, I feel like a lot of people have been talking about how, like, they feel like the scene's a little dry, and I'm like, bro, like, 3 months, it's gonna be a whole new bunch of new
But there's
kids.
so many scenes.
There's in that too.
Every artist comes from a scene. Bro, the biggest artist in the world, Drake, came from a Toronto scene.
Yeah.
Maybe not all those artists became the biggest things in the world, but at one point, it was a scene. Adele is still signed to XL Recordings, which is like a London label that has like Jamie XX and like really tasteful kind of like niche artists. And when Adele was coming up, she was coming out of a really cool London scene, and that scene is what gave her the initial visibility.
Yeah.
And then she had the hit songs that broke her through. So I tell everyone, it's like all these kids were really hip to whatever you want to call the underground, like earliest, but there's gonna be so many scenes, and these kids are all growing up. Some of these kids are so young, they're figuring out who they are in real time. Think about having a hit song with someone and you haven't even met them yet.
Shit is
That's
crazy.
how fast the shit was moving.
It was moving extreme like wildfire, bro.
And that's one thing about Yeat. Like Yeat knows exactly who he is. He knows how he wants it to sound. He knows how he wants it to look. He knows how he wants it to roll out. And that's why he wins, is because he creates a whole world. Like he's a genius.
Yes, and I will attest to that. Like the more mature people and older people in the scene that do have a clearer vision, like Yeat, that's why they're winning. They understand what they're really trying to do. They're, you know what I mean?
He's a real artist, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, all these kids are real artists, but I'm saying like some of the kids are a little younger and they're figuring out everything that they like now, and their shit's changing. You know, 4 months from now, they might like something different. And that's just part of growing up.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Which is cool because we get to see it like happening while it's happening. Yeah.
In real time. What was I gonna say? The big bro, man. Big Drizzy, man. Big Drizzy Drake.
The greatest.
How did you and Drake meet and everything?
When I was in college, I got a job like throwing parties and like promoting clubs, and I was like DJing frat parties and like promoting clubs in the city and whatever, and like we would actually like fuck around, like open up. Basically, my job was to bring like all my college friends to the club at like 10:30 before anyone got there, so the club would be packed by the time the cool people got there. That was my first job. Like when I was like really like 18, 19, and I didn't come from any bread, so it was like I can work at night throwing parties, and then I can go to school during the day. And
it helps your social life too.
I was paying for school bro, it took me to places I wouldn't even had imagined, right? But this is like the earliest hustle when I'm like 18, so like 8 years ago. And the guy I was working for, him and I got super close. He's now my manager years later, which is funny because he came from DJ World and shit before that.
Okay, bet.
But like at the time I was working for him and like interning for him, and me and him got super close, and he was starting to have like a family and he just got married and whatever, so he couldn't be out as much. But because he got super close to me, he's like, here's the kid that's like understands me and works for me and can go do all the legwork, right? So he'd like be at home with his wife, or he'd like leave early, and he'd be like, make sure this is all handled. But I was on some fly on the wall shit, where it was like, someone needs someone outside, I'll run and grab them. Someone needs, they need a drink, I would go to parties early and set the fucking lights up and set shit up. And I wasn't even on some networking shit, I was really just there to help.
It was genuine.
Yeah, I was there like an intern basically. And basically for like 6 months, I was going to school too. And my friends were always like, why are you leaving? Why you come home late? And I was like, damn, the shit I'm doing is top secret. I can't talk to anyone about it. Like I felt like scared. So my friends just thought I was like being weird, like, why do you leave every night? But really I was like helping every Drake party because he throws a party like every night. And I was just there like on some like fly on the wall intern shit. And after like 6 months of like Swiss Army knifing the shit, they would like dap me up and be like, oh, okay, yo, yeah, we know, you've been around like making yourself useful, whatever. And it got to a point where John, who's my mentor, like didn't have to be out every night because they saw me enough that I was a familiar face. He had the smart idea of like, let me slowly introduce him as the person that can help shit out.
Yeah.
So then it got to a point where it was like, he didn't have to be around anymore. And then it got to a point where I was finally having conversations with guys. And then Drake was like, yo, like, let's talk about music. Let's talk about women. Let's talk about sneakers. Let's talk about whatever bullshit. Like, sat down. And he's like, bro, you're the man. Like, come link me at the hotel tomorrow. I'm staying, whatever. Pull up on me at like 4 o'clock. And I went to link him the next day. I like skipped class, obviously. Linked him. I was at the hotel with him from like 4 to like midnight. And then every night he was just like, what are we doing? He like hit me. And he just became like my big brother, like coming with shit. Like I remember when I first made those like PsychWorld hoodies.
Yeah.
I remember like, this is like right when Sheck was just getting going. Like Sheck was like big, kind of like champion of the brand.
Yeah.
And like he showed up and Drake's like, what's this PsychWorld hoodie like I seen Sheck wear and Skepta wear? And he's like, what is this shit? Like I just keep seeing it in the last couple of weeks. I'm like, oh, it's my shit. He's like, what? It's your shit and you don't give me one?
That nigga Drake said, bro, come on now, twin.
No, because that's my big, but like, I'm nervous the whole time. I obviously want to give him one.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to be the guy that's like, yo, I got some shit for you. So it actually worked out beautifully because he's like, he knows I'm trying to get my shit off and he's looking after me and he's like, what? Like, come on. Gives me the shit and I'm thinking like, fuck, I got to get a picture of him in this shit.
Is that when y'all took the picture in front of Rolls Royce?
I'm like, I got to get the picture of this shit. And he's like, word? Like, I'm thinking like, fuck, how do I ask him? And before I even ask him, he's like, bro, we gotta go flick this up for you. I'm like, this guy's just the fucking best.
He's just reading niggas' minds.
Like, this guy's the best because I'm his little bro. He's looking after me. Like I'm 19, 20. I just started a brand. Like he knows how big of a moment this is for me, and he's looking after me. And he's fucking with it. It's fly. Like we're all rocking it and shit. And we just go outside of the back of the party. His Rolls Royce is parked there, and Kevin Wong, who's a paparazzi, is outside. And we're like, yo, Kevin, come flick this. And he just flicks it up and sends me photos. And he's like, get in. I'm like, no. Like the whole point is people can't know it's my brand. Like it's a secret.
Do you feel like that moment was like a solidifying moment for y'all, like relationship and shit?
It was not one single moment, bro. Like I've spent countless hours. I've stayed with him. I've been on tour with him. I've done everything. I've worked on ideas for shit for him. He's given me ideas. He shot me on a song. Bro, when I was in college.
That was crazy.
When I was in college and he shot me on a song, for like a month before it got like really annoying because everywhere I would go, then people would play it. For like a month, we were on top of the world. We were like, how do we go from kids that are like sneaking in to like go to Drake shows and shit to like him shouting? It was like crazy to us.
Did you get to hear that song like before it came out and everything, and like, or it just came out and you heard it?
French Montana FaceTimed me.
Oh.
And he's like, we got some shit for you. Like, oh, we're gonna go crazy. And I'm like, what is he talking about? And he's like, oh, yo, never mind. And I guess they were trying to surprise me with it. And then when it dropped, like it was so sick for us.
Damn.
That was a long time ago, bro. That was like 5, 6 years.
That was some shit, man.
But that was legendary for me.
Yeah, man. What do you feel like is the best thing you've learned from Drake? Because this is like one of the best artists in the world, businessman.
The greatest of all time.
Yeah.
No doubt about it.
Man, So Far Gone is literally my favorite album. I probably listen to that every other day.
He's the greatest ever. I mean, one thing about him that's amazing is like, he moves like the president like beyond that, like, you know, 10 Suburbans deep and whatever.
I got a story for that.
But what's so sick about that is, as crazy as he moves, he's also the most normal pedestrian, like will make time for anyone. So I think the reason I talk about him moving like the president is the flip side of how like accessible and how he'll make a conversation with anyone. He'll make everyone feel special. He'll really give you the time. He'll really remember the thing you say. Anyone, the random person that approaches him, whatever, and it's like, that's why he's the best, because he can really understand and connect to everyone.
Yes.
And that's something that I learned from him for sure.
100%. And it's funny you said that, because I think 2 years ago we were at the Crew League, right? And it was like 10 cars pulled in, a big stretch. This nigga was sitting right next to me. He's like, yo, is the president here? And I'm like, nah, that's Drake.
Yeah, he really does move.
And it was literally Drake. He's like, how you know that? I'm like, bro, only Drake rolling around like this. Come on now.
Yeah, he's the GOAT.
This shit was crazy. Niggas was tripping out. Man.
Nah, he's the best. I had dinner with him. I hit him today, like I'm coming back to LA. He's like, oh, you remember me? Because I dipped the Fashion Week for 4 days.
He's been seeing all those photos you've been posting.
Well, because he was in LA. He just got back to LA for the first time in a while. So we've been out every night doing shit. And I'm gone for 4 days. He's like, oh, you remember me now?
That nigga Drake said, bro, you ain't where you at, twin?
He's the best. He's the best ever.
Hit the twin, where
Funnest
you at?
guy, the most fun.
Man, and extremely tapped in.
He knows everything.
Everything, man.
Bro, he's the best.
Extremely tapped in, man.
He sees everything. I always joke that Instagram let him keep the following tab. You know how like you can see like, remember Instagram like 3 years ago, you can see who liked what?
Yeah.
I'm like, I swear he still has on his phone, because he knows like every little thing, who's fucking with what.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's really tapped in.
That shit crazy, man. You got your alcohol brand.
Sunny? Yeah.
Sunny, man. How did that name come out? I like that name. That's hard.
I actually didn't come up with it. They showed me the liquid itself.
Yeah.
It was my friend who started a brand. He did a lot of big liquor deals. He did Maison 9 with Post Malone. He did like the whiskey with Conor McGregor, did a bunch of different things. Mm-hmm. And he came to me and our partners and was like, I have this really amazing vodka, who should we partner with it on? And then we loved it and we're like, we should just build this out with you. And the whole idea was kind of like, we were the ones always curating the parties and throwing the things and whatever. We're like, we might as well have the drink for it. And tequila got kind of like really oversaturated. Like everyone started introducing a tequila brand, and also vodka's still the most consumed liquor around the world.
Oh, okay.
Tequila is massive, but we're also like LA, New York, whatever.
We're young,
around the world,
yeah.
Europe and everything, vodka's still the biggest. And we were like, we feel like we could go bring a fresh take to it. And it's more just about the product. The product's so good that I had to get involved.
Yeah, vodka's amazing.
Yeah.
It's super dope. Got to.
But that's another thing that's like seamless, you know. It's not like I don't work on it every day. It's just integrated into like what we're doing.
Yeah, because it's like, yo, I'm having a party. When
I DJ in Vegas, I'm like, there has to be a case there. When I go throw an event, we have to send it.
It's like
everything
I'm doing
I DJ.
a lot, but everything makes sense. It all goes into once.
It's all one piece.
So, you know, you really recently just started doing all these little, you know, the interviews and everything. You were very like, people didn't know. I think I've had a girl DM me at like, because she's seen that I follow you at like 3 a.m. She's like, what does Zack Bia do? Like, who's Zack Bia? Like, what's the craziest thing has someone thought that you did? Like, you were like, what the fuck?
I still think probably every person a lot of people that know, how do I phrase this? A lot of the shit I got to do because I never talked about it. So that's one thing. A lot of the access I was able to build and relationships I was able to build were over the course of years. And if I was the person that was like, hey, I'm friends with this person, or hey, I'm this, it would have immediately broken the trust, which allowed me to then go DJ the release party, allowed me to go be in the studio. I'm not in the studio like, yo, I'm in the studio. You know what I'm saying? Which is why I'm in the studio with everyone, because they want to pick the brain and they want to whatever. But bro, to this day, people think I come from money. To this day, you know why? But this might be the first time on an interview I disclose who my dad is.
Who's your dad? Oh, shit.
His name is Philippe. Everyone thinks it's this guy named Olivier who works for Dior, who's like,
I heard that,
distant cousin of my dad.
Okay.
But like, they're not like friends. Like, you know, like we don't all talk. I don't know him like that. Mm-hmm. And it's like telephone game, right? It's like, oh, we seen Zack with Drake. Who is this guy? Google my last name, and the only person whose last name comes up when you Google that is him, because he has like a corporate job. And then it goes from, oh, Zack's dad works at corporate Dior to Zack's dad owns, you know, telephone game. Like I tell you something, you tell him. By the time it gets back to me, it's already changed.
Zack's
5
dad's
times.
an astronaut.
And it's like, bro, my dad's a photographer. and me and him don't talk. I haven't been cool with my dad since I was like 8.
At all?
I've spoken to him twice in the last like 15 years.
Damn.
My mom is a single mom, and what pisses me off about people thinking I'm a rich kid isn't, they can think whatever about me, it just discredits how much my mom had to
Worked. Yeah, that's, yeah.
Right, my mom is a single mom. She moved to LA because she was always picking up jobs in LA for shoots and casting and production, whatever, and flying back and forth to New York. That's why we moved to LA, because she's like, I don't want to be leaving you guys for work. Let's just go move to LA and chase this opportunity. And like, I've always been someone who, if you know me, you know my best friend Gilly is my same best friend since I was 12 years old. I have all the same people around me. I'm the one who provides for everyone, not on some like trying to show off shit, but like, you know, I'm the one that like tries and creates opportunity and financially provides for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So, and that's not something I always wanted to talk about, because it's not for anyone to know, but now that we're talking, like, just to be honest. And yeah, like my, yeah, that's probably it. People are like, he does this, people are like, he's a coke dealer to the stars. I'm like, what?
Not Zack Bia being Pablo Escobar.
I'm like, what?
That is crazy, man. Like, I was literally sitting on Instagram. It was like 3 a.m. This one chick hit me up, like, cause I think she seen we follow each other and shit. She's like, what does Zack Bia do? And I'm like, he get all the girls and like, what the hell?
Sometimes I play into it. Sometimes I purposefully don't tell people what I do, because I'm just like, it's kind of funny.
Oh man.
And also, bro, when you work with artists, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not about me being like, I did this. It's like, how can I seamlessly help this artist grow? Yeah. If you start nitpicking everything and trying to get credit for it, you're taking away from them. And my job has always been to build things with people, not like go scream for the credit, which is why I get the credit within the industry, right?
Yeah. No, 100%. And
if that makes sense.
Yeah, you were being genuine, you know? Like,
bro, there's a lot of shit going on in life, man. We did a lot of shit. Like, we were around for a lot of times where we were doing shit not to tell people we were doing it, just because we thought it was fun.
Yeah.
We were sneaking into fashion shows that turned into us actually getting invited to them. We were fake DJing parties turned into us DJing fucking tours. You know what I'm saying? You do shit because you love it and it works out. And it grows, gotta keep doing it.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that piece of, you know, about your mom and, you know, your dad, that was some shit for sure, because that can feel you like, bro, like my mom like really raised me and my little bro. She really put on for us and shit. Sure. Like she really did what she did.
It's just us three, bro. We don't. Rest of my family in France, like we don't talk to them. The only person we talk to is my mom.
You ever feel like maybe one day you and your dad can get back together?
I don't even think about it, bro.
I feel
my life's moving so fast. I got so much shit to handle. I don't even want to think about it.
I feel that.
Yeah.
I respect that. Well, shit, man. We usually do this to close it out. What's your message for our generation?
Anything you want to do, just go for it and try it. And then by the time how do I rephrase it? Anything you want to do, try it, start doing it, and then you'll look back and be like, look how much we already did. Yeah. You know? Instead of holding on and being like, how do I do this? How do I start this? How do I do this? Like, I tell kids, they're like, how do I start a brand? How do I do it? I'm like, bro,
just do it.
Print a t-shirt, give it to 10 of your friends, now you got 10 people rocking your shit. And then you look back 6 months later and now you're like, I got 100 people rocking my shit.
I think people they get so obsessed with perfectionism and stuff. It's like, bro, just try. You're gonna get good. Just keep going.
It's like practicing in real time. You know what I mean? You can't go from like picking up a basketball to being a hooper if you don't put the hours in first. So it's like, just start doing shit.
You're gonna get good. Just try. Just keep doing it. It's gonna work out.
And believe in it, bro. Working in music is like believing in people before it happens. And you gotta do that with yourself too.
Exactly. Definitely.
Like, I don't feel like I'm any different than the person I was 5 years ago. I feel like this is just a natural progression. You gotta just keep building it. Yeah. You know, every time.
My boy, man. Appreciate you so much. That's hey, that's a hard fit.
We all look insane.
Hey, man, throw that on to it. Yeah.